friends, welcome back, or welcome if you're new here. My name is Stacy and I am the Chapter Conundrum, and in today's video I decided I wanted to pick 10 books that are going to self-destruct on Christmas Day next year, 2025, meaning that if I still haven't read these books, then they are getting unhauled. And I figured Christmas next year was going to be a fun deadline for this project because it's a time of year where I'm thinking, okay, I need to start making space on my shelves for the books I'm going to be gifted for Christmas. So I figured this would be a fun challenge to help me do that next year. So the 10 books I've picked out for this are definitely very different from each other in some cases, and I have different reasons for choosing them for this project. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into it and talk about the reasons why they are part of this challenge. So my first pick is Half Broke Horses by Jeanette Wells. And this is here simply because I have had this since 2018. This is the oldest book on my Goodreads want to read list, and I still have not yet read it. So it's now been 6 years, and I have read 2 other books by this author and had kind of a mixed experience, but this has a similar element to her book that I did enjoy. So I'm hoping that I will like this one when I get to it, but I just have to pick it up and actually get to it. So I'm hoping that having this on my self-destruct list will finally encourage me to actually pick it up and read it. So the next book on my list is a popular one, and it may surprise some people, but I am picking The Atlas Six by Olivia Blake. And I have had this since before it was traditionally published. This is the indie copy, and I still haven't yet picked it up. When I think of dark academia, I don't immediately gravitate towards that, but I initially wanted to check this out because of the sort of like deadly competition aspect of it. But some of my friends with similar reading taste to me have kind of given this like a meh 3-star rating. And so I'm just curious to see, like, is this something that's going to fall into my reading taste? But if not, I'm going to pass it along to somebody who's going to love finding the indie copy of this for sure. Also, this one just never had a dedicated home on my shelves. It's been sitting like on top of a stack sideways forever because it didn't fit. So I figured this was a good one for this challenge. The next book I'm choosing for this is a pretty unknown one, and that is Swords and Scoundrels by Julian Knight. And I'm intrigued by the premise of this one. It's siblings who are like champion duelists but thrown out of their dueling guild. And so they grudgingly turn highwaymen and kind of rob a carriage. But their plans go awry and they're in for more than they bargained for, and this kind of sets off a bigger plot. And this has an intriguing first line as well. They say that an ounce of blood is worth more than a pound of friendship. So that has me very curious about potential magic in here. And you're probably thinking, well, all of this sounds promising. Why the heck is it here? This has a 3.25 average rating on Goodreads. And so I don't know if it's like something in this book that I'm just not picking up on at this point, or if everyone else is just wrong. But I definitely want to read this and find out. And because this isn't something that's well known, it's not something I'm ever going to force myself to prioritize unless it's part of this challenge. So here it is. So my next pick for the self-destruct list is Holiday Romance by Catherine Walsh. And this is described a lot as sweet or adorable, which coupled with like the holiday aspects of this for some reason are giving me like Hallmark movie vibes. And if you know me, those are not my cup of tea. And so I think part of me has been putting off picking this up because I have those kind of like thoughts in my brain. And so I think putting it on this challenge will actually help me try it, or just give up on the idea of trying it and let go of it. So my next pick is a book that I was given for free by somebody who has very different reading taste to me, and I either need to just read it or just let go of it and acknowledge that I'm not going to read it. And that is Alfred and Emily by Doris Lessing. And from what I know of this, it's like maybe based on true events, but also historical fiction, and follows a young girl who talks about her parents and kind of the trauma they went through with the Great War and how that sparked some choices that they made in their later life and sort of how that impacted her. I'm not disinterested in that premise, but I do know that this isn't something I would typically gravitate towards picking up, and so I think having it on this challenge will benefit me. My next pick is a book talk sensation, and that is Wretched by Emily McIntyre, and this is book 3 in the Never After series. And I have read both book 1 and 2, so Hooked and Scarred, and I didn't love either of them, but it's funny, I had different complaints with them. So like my complaints and problems with book 1 were fixed in book 2, but then book 2 gave me like all new issues to complain about. And so I'm kind of hopeful that like maybe at this point in the series, because they're all kind of like standalone stories and I don't have to remember much about the other ones, that she'll have kind of moved on from those issues and improved again. So I'm having a hard time just like letting go of the idea that I'm gonna hate this entire series because I own the first 5 books. So I kind of feel like, hey, I'll give this a try, or I'll decide, nah, I have better things to read. But either way, this is a good one to have here because it will take several books out of limbo for me. Like I either need to just unhaul the series, or maybe I'll decide I like them and just unhaul the first 2 and continue reading the others. Next up, I have Kushiel's Dart. And this is like an epic political fantasy that I was interested in because people have touted it as like a book that sort of helped inspire the fantasy romance genre. Now I do know this has some spicy scenes and they're not necessarily romance related, and there are, you know, interesting aspects to that because the character has been like touched by Kushiel's Dart, which means they feel pain as pleasure. And I think the main character here is a spy that sort of like puts themselves in the position of a prostitute, maybe? I do know that this deals heavily with betrayal and conspiracies, which sounds interesting, but even though this came out after 2000s, the writing style in here, at least from the very beginning, has a very like old fantasy classic vibe, and that is not my thing. So while I'm very intrigued by the content and the potential plot that's in here, I'm not sure I can get past the writing style enough to enjoy it. So I definitely think I just need to make a decision on this series and just try it out and see how it goes. And I've had the first 3 books in mass market sitting on my shelves for a while, so I definitely think it's time to just like get on it and either try it or decide to let go of it. Next up, I have Bride by Ali Hazelwood, and I have read, I think, all but one of her contemporary romance books, and I've enjoyed them all, but this seems to be very polarizing among my friends. Some people love it, some people hate it, and I'm curious to see what camp of this I fall into. I'm kind of hesitant because I have a feeling I'm going to side more with people who don't like it, because some of the reasoning I've heard for why people don't like it is that they weren't very invested in the romance or that it wasn't developed to their liking. And that's definitely something I can struggle with in a romance book. And if I don't get invested in the couple, it's a dud for me. So I am worried, but I do still want to try it because it's Ali Hazelwood and because I've enjoyed so many of her other books. But I need to just stop being scared of it and give it a try and figure out what side of this I'm on. My next pick is The Bone Witch by Rin Chapeko. And while I'm very intrigued by this because of the necromancy magic and because of the main character T and sort of like things I know based on like the overall premise, I have heard that this is very slow paced and that it focuses a lot on the minutia of the world. And those 2 things together have me very worried that this is going to be very descriptive, which, if you know my reading tastes, not for me. I don't visualize while I read, but I'm very intrigued by the magic in the story. So I'm really just not sure where I'm gonna fall on this. So I definitely need to just try it out and make a decision. And my last pick is another popular one, and it is The Cousins by Karen McManus. And this is a young adult thriller. And I don't know a ton about it other than that the premise is there's some cousins who are invited to go to their grandparents, but their parents have kind of been disowned and nobody really remembers why or knows why. And so the cousins are very intrigued to like kind of go and figure out the family history, like what's going on, what's happened, and just get some answers. But the reason I'm kind of unsure about this is because I have seen reviews that say like the author kind of had like one plot trick up her sleeve and she used it over and over again. And definitely that's something that really can irk me in a thriller. Like one that comes to mind that does this for me is No Exit by Taylor Adams. Like I was just like, if this element comes into play one more time, I'm gonna lose my mind. And so I'm kind of worried that based on like chatterings I've seen about this, that I'm gonna have that same type of feeling with it. But it's a hardcover that's, you know, gonna be very quick to read, taking up a lot of space on my shelf. And so I just need to get over that and either try it or let go of trying it. So it definitely needs to be here. So that was it for the 10 books on my self-destruct TBR. If I have not read and unhauled any of these before Christmas 2025, they're just gonna go. And I'm going to let go of deciding to read them. I need to either get there or just give up on trying. Let me know down below in the comments which one of these you think are worth my time and which ones you think maybe aren't worth my time. I'd love to hear your feedback and opinions on that. Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe on your way out, and have a fantastic day. Bye.